say congratulations to Graceway on 60 years. You know, we've been around here a lot of years, and the church was just being organized when we first heard of it, and they were meeting in rented or borrowed places. But the first one I remember was we met in the American Legion Hall down on US 1, and we had to clean out the beer cans before we could have Sunday school and church. But shortly, we were able to purchase this land right here, and this building was built in 4 sections at different times, and those were exciting times. Through it all, God has been good.
So Sarah and I's story about how we found Graceway was we were engaged to be married, and we were looking for a house. And every time we looked at a house, there was a church nearby. We were going to start a family, we were going to be married, and we wanted to go back to church. We both grew up in church but had strayed away, so we both came.
Bobby Berry, they lived in a house near us. We were outside putting in a little sidewalk, and Pastor Berry came over and invited us to church.
And Cecil Rogers came and told us he had found this little church out here, and he wanted us to come, because we had a quartet and we've been on the radio, and he wanted to come out here and help the church get started. Well, we came and loved it. And Pastor Spence was the pastor then. And well, I think we scared him to death because we brought so many with us.
When Don and I moved to Florida, the church was about 10 years old. And how we heard about the church, when we lived in West Virginia, I knew Parham and Geneva. And we came, and we really enjoyed the service and the people, and everybody's always been so loving.
I guess it turned 51 years ago. 1 year old, Mom used to bring me here. And over the course of time, I had just turned around and found a different church through my teenage years. But what really brought me here was a young man named Stephen West running down the road, chasing a pickup truck that I was in. And then a pastor scheduling a meeting the next day that was going to be 20 minutes. And that pastor took half a day, almost 4 or 5 hours, to a complete stranger. And to see that kind of compassion and that kind of love already to a complete stranger, to me was an open invitation to Graceway.
Mr. Jim Vanover was one of the fellows that came that day and invited my mom and I, and it couldn't have been at a better time, because at that point, Mike and I were going through a very hard time in our life, which would ultimately lead to the passing of our child. But that is what started my coming to Graceway.
So my fondest memory of Graceway not only is that my wife and I were married here at this church, and that we had our first son here, but also this is the place where I rededicated my life to Christ.
My fondest memory at Graceway is the fact that my husband and I were married here, and every Sunday that we have a service here, it just reminds me that this is where we became one with God when we got married. And I would have to say that a close second to that is when our son Blake was dedicated at this church, and it just reminds me of the comfort and home that I feel when I come to Graceway.
Well, one of the nicest memories I had was when I came in, there was Herman Hannon sticking out his hand greeting us, and it was just nice, and he was always nice, and it was just always pleasant. You knew he was going to be there, and he was nice.
So I think when a guest walks in the front doors of Graceway and you turn around and you see the true, I mean the true heartfelt love and handshakes of the individuals, the members of Graceway, that a guest walks in that's just not a name today. That name will be there and known next week and the week after.
What God has done in my life since attending Graceway, there's been so many blessings, of course. My wife and I were married, we have a son. The Lord's blessed us immensely. And being here on a Sunday morning or a Wednesday night or being at one of our teen events or something, is like this is where we feel God speaking to us. This is our anchor where we know we can come and just worship Him and know that He's working through our lives every day.
So to me, what God has really done is really just instilled in me the relationship that one needs to have with Christ. And I'm so thankful for that blessing, because now my husband, Marshall, and I are now instilling those things into our son. And let me tell you, it warms my heart like nothing else when he sings Christian songs in the car. And I just don't think there's a prouder moment as a parent than having your child love the Lord in just that innocent way that a child does.
God has done so much in my life since I've been here. And I couldn't even name them over, but it's made me a stronger Christian.
Graceway Church has always been a place where we've just really looked forward to coming to worship. And I wasn't in Florida too many years. I rededicated my life and at this church. And I'll never forget when I got up from the altar, Linda Hannon started singing the song, "There's a New Name in Glory."
Completely changed this man standing here in front of you. Has opened up doors that I would have never dreamed about. Has put me in positions that I still ask God, why me, Lord? God here in Graceway and God working in my life has taught me the true meaning of servantship. Not just to work, but what a true servant should be.
The impact that our attendance here has had on our family, even on my job, the opportunities that God has given me to talk to people that I meet in my job, to talk to them about Him and to be able to share His love and to remind folks that He loves them when they just need a place to vent, and to find that reminder. He's given me those opportunities since I've been here, and I just pray that He continues to give me those opportunities and send folks my way.
So what I would love to see Graceway do in the future is continuing on and growing in this community. We have such a rich, beautiful history of the last 60 years in this community on this property. And I always joke that Graceway is like a little hidden gem of Melbourne. And I want us to be not a hidden gem. I would love everybody to know who we are and what we do through our outreach. So what I'd like to see us do in the future is grow, continue to impact the people of Brevard County and Melbourne for Christ. And I pray that 40 years from now, I can be sitting in these pews, Lord willing, and celebrating 100 years of God's influence in Brevard County through Graceway.
I think that in order for there to be a revival in our community, there has to be a revival in each of us. So we go out and preach the gospel at every opportunity, whether it's at a grocery store, if it's a daycare teacher, if it's a coworker. We feel the movement of Christ in ourselves, and we instill that in our walk each and every day, so that we can help plant those seeds for God and help Melbourne to be completely revitalized.
Well, I'd like to see this church packed. And I'm 81. So I've got a lot of work to do to help see that happen. And I just pray that the Lord will give me strength, that I can go out and witness more.
Graceway Church has always been very special, and everyone in the church is special in their own way. And the church has always been so loving. And I want to see the church remain that way, and that I will be able to do more for the Lord, that I can help the church grow. We'd love to come in on Sunday mornings and see the pews full, and I just want to do something that I can help, no matter where the help is needed, that I might be able to do a little something to help. And the church means so much to me, and I don't know where we could ever go to find a better church home and a church family.
For Graceway's future, I'd love to see this church continue to grow more kids by teaching our young ones and helping them grow up in a way that's right. They may stray for a while, but they'll return, and that's how our church will continue to grow. I pray that I can continue to be here for many years in the future.
To sit back and look as we're middle-aged, to turn around and hope and pray that as our son grows, that he can turn around and say, you know what, I remember that 60-year anniversary. And that Lane might be able to turn around and be in the same position or in the same seats that we are today and still sit there 60 years from now and Lane be a member or a big part of Graceway. But Graceway's doors are still open. That we've supported the community, that the community has got to know Graceway. And it takes a lot of work and effort, especially with today's world, to turn around and see what 60 years, to sit there and keep doors open in any business of 60 years. But for doors to still be open in a small backyard neighborhood that's off the beaten path to a certain degree, God has had amazing plans for Graceway, and I truthfully believe in my heart that God has bigger and better plans for the next 60 years.